and go over something that we all need to do. And we all just heard a clinic on elevator pitches because the introductions that we did in the first half of the meeting was everyone giving their elevator pitch. And I'm sure you noticed that some people do a really good job with it, and some people it's less planned, and some people talk too long, and some people it's really short, and there's all these different variations. But there's a really simple process that you can go through to develop a really concise elevator pitch. And I didn't give you mine, by the way, because I knew we'd be going through it anyway. So we'll do it right now. Basically, the idea is to describe your business or what you do in 30 seconds, but there is an important first ingredient, and that is to know what it is you do. And that's harder than you think. In fact, it's been pretty hard for me to figure out what I do. I do a lot of different things. And so it's really a challenge to sit down and try and figure out not only what do I do today, but what do I want to do tomorrow, and then crafting it around that. So the objective, basically, with an elevator pitch is pretty simple. You want to get people to know what you do, want what you do or what you sell, and buy what you sell, all in about 30 seconds or less. And depending on how fast you speak, that's basically 90 words or less. For the average peer person, it's probably around 75 words. So, and there's a trick there. But, how do you go about doing that? Well, it turns out that there is something called the motivating sales sequence. And anytime you look at a sales letter on the internet, these long web pages that are trying to sell one product or another, or anytime you look at any kind of even an introduction letter, if it's done correctly, and by the way, you can use this kind of stuff even when you're like applying for jobs or pitching your business or even submitting proposals. There's a specific sequence of events that can, and I did research on this to try and find good content for this, to get people to really accept what you're proposing quicker. Okay, and it looks something like this. So the first thing is you got to identify the problem that you're solving, and more importantly, the pain that is causing. And the pain, by the way, is a lot more important than the problem, because there's a lot of problems out there that no one cares about, and it doesn't hurt anyone, so the problem just stays as it is, and it's not a big deal. But there are other problems that cause pain for people, emotional pain. And if you can identify what that pain is, then that's an important first step. Secondly, you got to describe how you alleviate that pain. And that's the essence of what you do for a living. And then after that, you got to back it up with some credibility and show some stats or anything you can to kind of support who you are and differentiate yourself from everyone else. In other words, what makes you better than all the other people who pretend to do exactly the same thing that you do. And then finally, you got to give them a call to action. And that's the hardest part. It's the hardest part when you're talking to someone in a networking event. To give them a call to action, it feels unnatural. It feels like you're pushing. You got to find a way to communicate that, because if you don't, you're missing half the opportunity. I mean, they do studies on this kind of stuff, and the response rate you can get if you just give people a call to action, do this, is up like twice as much as what it would be if you didn't give them that call to action. So you all have this handout, which is page number 2, okay, which I put together for this. And I figured we'd just go through this really quickly as my little piece of tonight's presentation. First off, step 1, hey, oh, yeah, by all means. Sorry about that. Anyone who's not missing one, there you go. So there's one difference between the motivating sales sequence that I just talked about and an elevator pitch, and that is that you have to identify yourself first in your elevator pitch. So, and there's a format here of how you can do that, saying my name is such and such, I am this, and I specialize in that. So as an example for me, I could say something like, my name is Patrick Schwerdtfeger, and I'm a internet marketing consultant specializing in driving traffic to websites, which is what I do. Okay, so that's sentence number 1. Well, sentence number 2, I've got to talk about the problem and what I solve, how I solve the problem. Okay, and I could say something like, it's not perfect, but I could say something like, I help companies grow their online revenue by finding qualified prospects and incenting them to visit their websites. Okay, that explains what it is that I do. Thirdly, differentiating myself, you can do this a number of different ways. You can talk about awards or credentials that you have or experience certifications, or you can give an example of an impact you've had with some of your own clients, like saying, my online marketing strategies recently increased one client's revenue by over 40% in just 6 months. That's actually true. That's a great success story for me. I'm thrilled with that result. But it shows immediately to people that what I'm talking about actually has a result. Okay, which hopefully differentiates me from some of the other people doing it. And then finally, a call to action. I thought about this when I just put this together yesterday. I could say something like, you can benefit from the same strategies by scheduling a 1-hour, $100 consultation, which is free if you use my services thereafter, which is one example. Okay. So if you put it all together, it could be something like, my name is Patrick Schwerdtfeger, and I'm a internet marketing consultant specializing in driving organic traffic to websites. I help companies grow their online revenue by finding qualified prospects and then sending them to visit their websites. My online marketing strategies recently increased one client's revenue by over 40% in just 6 months, and you can take advantage of the same strategies by scheduling a 1-hour consultation, which is free if you use my services thereafter.
28 seconds.
Isn't that funny? You know what? Here's the overview, and I did it yesterday, and I timed myself at 32. So 4 sentences, 76 words, about 30 seconds. That fits the mold. Okay. Now, is it perfect? No, it's not. And I mean, I'm one of those people where I'm never happy with something. It's always like, I just don't know if it feels right. So you massage it and play with different words and play with different phrases and see how different things feel to you, and then test them at different networking events. And if you guys all do this, then you can bring your brand new elevator pitch to our January meeting, which is on January 5th, 2009. So that's my short little piece. I'm going to leave it there, but let me